All right, my friends, welcome to episode 375 of Prof and Dev Play Games. I promise you this is not Fire Emblem Engage Part 3. This instead will be Final Fantasy Part 16. My name is Larry. I'm a professor. Over there is Anthony. He is a developer. And before we get into our topic of Final Fantasy 16, I shall ask, how are you, Anthony?
I'm doing well.
Excellent.
It's been a relaxing weekend.
Good.
I needed that for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, I played a lot of. We'll get to it, but when we talk about what we played, I played a lot of Octopath Traveller, so I can talk about that pretty extensively.
I'm looking forward to talking to you about the scholar that you found in Octopath Traveller. But we shall get to that. This.
Oh, right, that picture.
Yeah, that picture. I was like, did he doctor this in some way? Is this not real? We shall talk about that when we get to what we've been playing.
Yeah.
But right now we're going to talk about what other people have been playing. A bunch of people were able to preview. Some people went to Japan. Some people went to New York to preview Final Fantasy XVI. So before we get into like impressions and things we heard, etc., a preview this seems early because this comes out in June.
Yeah.
Does it seem early to you, or does this seem like right on pace?
I think it's on pace.
Okay.
Mostly for the fact that this is the first time we've seen anyone's had actual like hands-on with gameplay outside of Square Enix,
Yep.
and the first time actually even like the videos they released show gameplay, just straight gameplay.
Yep.
Because you see it briefly in some of the trailers that they've released, but it's not a lot to discern exactly what's going on. And it's funny to look how much, even from the first trailer that showed some gameplay like a year ago to what it looks like now, it's the same but different already. Like there's definitely been iteration done on like how the UI is showing up, how they're displaying abilities, the whole thing. But I think it's on pace, and I think Naoki Yoshida, the producer of this, has stated that he was holding the cards close to his chest until they were ready for release, basically.
Did he say why? He just wanted to make sure.
That's just how he wants to do it.
Yeah.
They don't want to don't tease stuff super early, and if you do, just do some light trailers to show, like, all the trailers have mostly been character and world story stuff, and not talk about the gameplay. And now, I think he said, like, once the hose got turned on 6 months before release, it's going to be on, and you're going to see a lot. There's going to be a demo of it at some point, where the content will go from the demo into the main game, like a lot of Square Enix demos do now, for the most part.
Where you like transfer your save, basically.
Yep, just transfer your save.
That's awesome because, like, Octopath, for example, I think it was a couple hours, right, the demo?
3 hours.
You got 3 hours, yeah.
In Octopath. I bet in 16 it's not going to be an hourly thing. It's going to be a get to this part of the story and it'll stop.
What I was gonna say is that I like that approach because if just say 3 hours for Octopath, like it would take me, I don't know, like a week or 2 weeks to get through those 3 hours based on how like I set aside gaming time, unfortunately. So that's great because if they put out a demo like a month before, like I will have gotten to the point in that story by the time the game actually comes out.
Yeah.
There's so many cool previews. Did you watch the Skill Up preview that I had mentioned?
I've watched Skill Up. I watched Kind of Funny Games cast where they talk about it.
Yep.
I watched one or two more, and then there's a video I posted which is very little. There's like person barely talking sometimes over it, just like a few sentences explaining what the setup for each scene was, but it's basically the 45 minutes of B-roll footage that Square Enix gave content creators to make their videos out of, because they couldn't record their play experience,
right? But
they were given like pre-recorded stuff from Square Enix of what they played, and so I watched through that an entire chunk of that with almost no commentary on top of it, just to watch it and listen to it.
In the B-roll. Oh, okay, let me finish my first question.
Yeah.
In the Skill Up thing, he talked about having asked about a JRPG.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And Yoshi P was just like talking about how basically offensive JRPG is because it almost like discriminates against like Japanese developers. Like you can't make real RPGs, you can only make JRPGs kind of thing. What did you take away from that?
I didn't take away that from it. I took away from it the fact that it was probably, when you're talking about 10 to 15 years ago, it was used kind of as a throwaway derogatory thing. It's a weeb game. Like, exaggerated characters, on rails. Like, it wasn't used in a way that was, like, glowing. I liked JRPGs even then, and that term stuck with me. Because I like the mechanics that are used there. But I also get why they're like, you're using this to other us?
Yeah, exactly.
With these games?
Yep.
Although his thing there, because I have seen this online where people are like, well, we shouldn't call them JRPGs anymore or anything. And his full discussion on that wasn't that you shouldn't call them JR. He's like, they're much more open to the term now because it's being used in high praise kind of now. Back to what it was like when PS1 was coming out. Like the heyday of the PS1 trend where all those games were finally getting localized and coming. Final Fantasy VII on. And tons of other games from other companies. Like, it was just a huge wave. And I think it was a term of kind of praise and endearment there because of how unique these were. And there's definitely a certain mechanical styling to, I say let's not use JRPG, say RPGs out of Japan, what it's societally and culturally and taste-wise, they like us. The developers there seem to circle around a very specific type of RPG.
Right.
But I don't know. We just call it JRPG for Japanese RPG when I'm like, it doesn't have to be. There's plenty of other places that make RPGs like this now that aren't Japan.
Yeah, it just kind of comes at a time where like a very similar type of RPG came out of one country, so it was easy to call it that. But now it's they make so many different kinds. First of all in Japan, but then elsewhere. Like we don't, we obviously we say like Western RPGs, but even that doesn't mean.
A lot of times we were calling them CRPGs.
Yeah.
Overall, like it was always based on mechanics. A lot of the times, so you had like CRPG, the computer RPG. You had ARPG, action RPG. A lot of times it was very focused on mechanical things.
Right, like SRPG, strategy RPG.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because like the place became synonymous with the mechanics almost. Japan.
It did.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, they were the ones pushing those mechanics and that type of game, be it Final Fantasy or Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quests. Like that just kind of was the style, even from like the NES days.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but I understand that like it was started to being used about the time of Final Fantasy 13, and it like there kind of was like just this wave of stuff out of Square and other companies that just wasn't that great. Like a very stagnated kind of mechanics. You see Square fighting against that as they started moving away.
Right, because JRPG in my head is like not necessarily pixelated, but turn-based. Certainly.
And 16 is not turn-based. Holy crap.
I mean, 16, like if you think about like the term Western RPG and what that evokes in your head, it seems like a Western RPG. You know, in terms of structure and mechanics.
I look at him like, this is the combat designer from Devil May Cry 5.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Like it just speaks to it. This is an action RPG through and through, more than the Final Fantasy VII remake was, which already was a pretty actiony remake of that game. It still tried to keep true to like ATB stuff a little bit, but
had options in there for that. You didn't have to...
you could play it like that, and then you had the ATB resource that you were building charges with, so you could cast spells and do different things with. Like they used it as a resource if you're playing it just how I would say the normal way.
Right.
But 16 is just forgoing all of that. It's like, nope, this is action game. We've got combos, we got tons of abilities. And based on that, like also his thing of being like, it feels like even now where the term JRPG is used with much more endearment and praise than it has been, it still, as he was stating, feels like it locks them in a box of what they should be making.
Right. Because it is a very narrow definition of what JRPG means, even if you make them all in Japan. Like technically they're all this is a JRPG. And you wouldn't. I don't know if I'd really call this JRPG.
Exactly. So I fully understand that. And from those like the Skill Up interviews and a few other places that we're talking about, asking questions. It was clear that they want this game to hit with a very large audience. And
yeah, it feels like they want to grow the type of gamer that thinks Final Fantasy is for me.
Yeah. And I mean, is that for financial reasons or just from a creative standpoint of being like, hey, I want the thing that I'm working on to be played by as many people as possible. I want have a drive for that, which is a very valid drive when making art. You sometimes just want it to be consumed by as many people as possible.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting that. I don't know how many players play 14. I know it's very popular.
A lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel like that's, maybe it's a hell of a drug. Like, why can't we have this kind of audience for like Final Fantasy 15, which was like one of the best-selling Final Fantasies anyways. But
great. It's just divisive,
yeah,
which makes sense.
Well, it's poor. Oh God, what the fuck is their name? They're being dissolved.
Oh, Luminous.
Thank you, Luminous Productions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor them.
Well, devolved, brought back into the fold.
Yep.
Because they were Business Division 2. I had to read this up. I'm like, I thought they were part of Square already.
Right.
They were. They were Business Division 2, and they basically spun out and renamed themselves. They were still just a studio under Square Enix Holdings.
Yeah.
And now they're just being put back into their spot of, I don't know what Square Enix games division specifically is. There's a couple divisions now. But I was like, yeah, it makes sense. I think they're very good on the tech side, but they kind of have a hard time with the story and character side.
Well, it's even with Forspoken that people are saying the same thing, like oof on the misses, but the tech and the moving around the world and stuff like feels pretty good on that game apparently.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It's just you're talking about Final Fantasy XIV. I'm trying to see if there's any current expecting number of subscribers is around 35.8 million, and daily players are about 3.4 million is what the estimates are for Final Fantasy XIV. That's a lot of players for an MMO.
Yeah,
I think that's bigger than WoW at this point.
Well, even like this far on from when it started, but yeah, still that's I don't know how that compares to how many people played 15. I thought 15 sold like 10 million copies or so. So obviously, if you're thinking about a juggernaut, Final Fantasy is a juggernaut overall, but I don't know if we're looking at Hogwarts that sold 12 million in 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm sure
Final Fantasy 15 as of May 17th, 2022, so a year ago, it had sold 10 million copies.
Yeah, right. Which
is good, but not in comparison to the games that Yoshi P referenced in there. Like, it's no GTA 5. It's
exactly.
It's no Call of Duty. It's no Hogwarts Legacy. Like, it's seen as it's a popular game. It's successful, but it's still seen as a niche game.
Exactly, and that's the thing that I think he wants to fight against and open up. And boy, just based on how it looks, I feel like they have a good chance. And how you play it, I guess too. Someone was making. I played the demo of Stranger of Paradise, but it was very much action focused.
Stranger of Paradise is so. I mean, that's Team Ninja.
Team Ninja, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a dumb game.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a dumb game. But I have talked to people that have put hundreds of hours into it.
That's what I'm talking about. Is like, yeah, it's dumb. Forspoken 2 is not great, but or even like Wulong Fallen Dynasty it got some problems, but people play these games and find something to like in them. Fucking the Avengers, right? Marvel's Avengers was not fantastic, but people put hundreds of hours into it.
Yeah.
So I think I think if a JRPG is not that great, do people put hundreds of hours into it? Maybe. But the action component where you can keep replaying it and improving your medal or your S rank or whatever, maybe that's enticing. Because this fucking, from the B-roll that you sent over, a lot of it reminds me of Bayonetta, to be honest.
Oh yeah, it's very similar. I mean, it's that very type of action RPG going on.
Your small character versus like a fucking
Oh
god.
yeah,
The scale of these fucking
scale,
icons and shit.
The fights, the way that they transition from like full on you're doing action fight to immediately like being in cutscene to back to fight to cutscene to like battlefield changing. They talk about there's a reason probably why this is PS5 only right now.
They talked about how it would still be in development if it wasn't PS5.
Yeah, they can't do this on a PC right now.
Yep.
Or consistently. This would require I think Forspoken was one of the first games that ever used it, which was you need Windows 11 and the latest version of DirectX 12, and you can make use of the DirectX, man, I can't remember the term, hard drive, the speedy hard drive thing that the PS5 has, basically.
The
that
SSD?
Tech. Well, if you have a fast enough NVMe drive, Windows 11, and DirectX 12, if a game supports it, it will do a similar concept to what the PS5 is doing.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It has the bandwidth to load stuff from the disk directly into the GPU.
Okay.
Forspoken was the only game that's done it so far, and like I said, those are pretty hefty requirements on you have to be on the latest version of Windows.
Yeah.
And have a fast enough NVMe drive to make use of it. Which totally makes sense when I'm like, yeah, no wonder they're not bringing to the PC immediately. I don't think they can. Like, so few people would be able to actually run this properly. Like,
yeah, so I think like the gamut of specs on PC versus, I mean, obviously PS5 is one. There's one SKU.
One spec,
yeah.
And they know exactly they're making use, like the way those cutscenes are working, since they're all in engine.
Yeah.
Is just like they are speed loading everything into memory as needed and dropping it out, so they can do these crazy huge transitions during the fight, arenas changing that I don't think would be easily possible beforehand on other systems right now. Xbox X, Series X could. But
yeah, but they
Sony
gotta
at
have
least
parity.
paid for exclusivity there.
Yes, exactly. Well, even if they didn't, this isn't going to run on the Xbox Series S.
No, not on an S, that's for sure.
And they have to have parity, so good fucking luck.
Yeah, and I would say they did ask someone, I think it was Skill Up, or maybe it was someone else, and asked like, okay, is this running on Luminos? And they're like, no.
Oh,
is this running? Mm-hmm. Is this running on Unreal?
No.
Can you tell us what it is running on? No.
That was Skill Up. Yep.
I love that. I was like, cool, good to know. Some new engine inside Square that we're using here. It looks really good though. So
like, it's the Decima engine. We took it from Gorilla
or something. I don't know. No, it's not Decima.
No, I'm kidding.
It wouldn't surprise me though. Like, there's a few internal engines and they have connections with Sony and everything. So
right, maybe Kojima was like, yeah, check out Decima. It's great.
But I don't think so. It doesn't have the right look for Decima either.
Yeah, I don't know. I you know better than I would. I just know that it fucking looks great.
It does look great.
It really, and I know that they've curated these videos, but they're not trying to pull wool over our eyes because we're gonna have it soon enough, anyways.
No, and because people actually played it for the most part, like played this video, and it's like I'm pretty sure if the video was wildly different from what they played, you would have heard something.
Well,
and I've heard no one say that like this video is wrong.
No, and Skillip even said at the beginning the video is very indicative of what I played, even though I didn't capture this. I just think the lighting itself, God, it looks great. It just stands out to me. The B-roll that you sent over, during the battles, there's a QTE event that they call Cinematic Strike. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
What is that all about? I mean, is it just like...
I have no clue. I think they might just be naming the QuickTime events.
Yeah.
I don't know. The QuickTime events are pretty insane, I will say. Like,
yeah.
Flavor-wise are really insane and over the top.
It like freezes the battle, and you like to strike, and then when you finally kill the enemy, it just freezes it and turns it to black and white. Like, it's really stylish.
Yeah.
It
looks like a very expensive game. I'm going to say that. Like,
yeah.
Whenever you just see a game, you're like, they spent a lot of money on this game. My God, what was some other cool things from in there? Did you see the part where they talked about the localization?
Oh, with Koji Fox.
Koji Fox.
Koji Fox.
But like how how.
That it was in it was tied to the lip syncing discussion too, where it was like they lip synced
to English.
Yes, they lip synced to English, and they went back and changed to Japanese to make sure it fit the English lips.
Yeah.
What the
fuck? The Japanese writer, and Koji Fox was sitting there with Miharu while he was writing the script.
Yeah.
And like translating, like doing the translation at the same time the Japanese was being written, and they're discussing it sounded like the way that they would translate certain things to English more than anything, so that the scripts matched up and felt you get the colloquialisms for the different languages and figuring out the right way. So I'm like, that's incredible that he gets to sit there and do this while the script's being written, and then they record to the English script.
That is the part that is really surprising to me.
English script.
Because
they're Western characters and they want them to.
That makes sense, I guess.
They definitely want it to record it to the mocap performers, which I still don't know who the mocap performers are. I don't think they've put out any of that. And then
it's Matt Mercer.
There you go. And then they readjust the Japanese voice script to match the English lips.
That's the crazy thing, is like they're going back in and changing the words in the Japanese script to match what they've. I assume them saying next to each other is kind of like, okay, translate it into English for the colloquialisms or whatever else too. But the way that this is said, the amount of words, the way that the vowels are formed or whatever, like let's get them closer here so we do less changes later. It's amazing, that process. I would love to just have a deep dive behind the scenes on just that.
Yeah, hopefully they do a behind the scenes on this. I'd love to hear some of how they're developing this and how this came about. Like, I don't know. It feels like they've been working on this for a while.
I say get No Clip over there, or fucking the team that did Double Fine's 32 episode adventure.
Well, I mean, No Clip did a Final Fantasy XIV, like a Realm Reborn, like how that game was saved. It's like 3 or 4 parts.
That's cool. So it's
a big No Clip thing.
It's not out of the realm of possibility then that they would be doing.
No. Part 1, part 2. It is 3 parts. 3 parts, almost 2 hours total.
Cool.
Of just No Clip doc on, and I know they interviewed Yoshi P a ton and the whole thing. I think they would probably love to do more of it. I remember them talking that they just, when the pandemic hit, they wanted to go to Japan and do stuff again, but they just can't.
Yeah.
And hopefully eventually they'll be able to do it again. But yeah, Final Fantasy XVI would be a great one. But
this is day one for you, I assume.
Oh yeah, I have it pre-ordered. I don't have the $300 special edition pre-ordered. I don't need that shit.
Yeah, you pre-ordered the Fire Emblem special edition, and you're like, nope, never mind.
Yeah, it's just stuff that I don't honestly in the end will care about, and I probably just will get donated or go to the trash, unfortunately, in the end. So I'm trying to hold myself a little bit more accountable on that, about what do I want to display or not.
Well, my problem with the Fire, I don't know why. I should just open it and enjoy it. I haven't opened up anything because I don't want to, but then, like, why did I buy it? Like, just open it up. Although Metroid Prime I did not open.
Okay.
Because I haven't played it yet, but I will open it, obviously.
Sure.
There's finally some copies back in Target today.
I saw that. I saw that they're finally showing back up, at least briefly. I don't know.
I had like 6 copies around me today. I don't know if they're still. I'll check right now, see if they're still there. But man, Final Fantasy 15 was the first Final Fantasy 15 that I ever beat.
Sure.
So this looks leaps and bounds above that game, and I enjoyed that game. To be honest, no, this is completely out of stock now.
Yeah. So I'm getting the deluxe edition for 16, which has the game. It has a cloth map of Valisthea, which I want a cloth map. That's cool. I'll totally put that up. And it comes with a steel bookcase. That's it.
Oh, cool. Okay. So that's not, that's not too much.
I don't need anything else that's like cool, because like the enormous collector's edition, which you can still put $350, comes with like metal enamel icon pins of all the icons, but it comes with a giant Phoenix and Ifrit statue.
Oh, Jesus. And this is only through the Square
Enix store.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an enormous box. And it comes with a map, and it has a bunch of stuff. It's still available.
I'm looking at the Target one right now, and it's I could pre-order it. And what does it have in it? Is it the one you're talking about?
Probably the deluxe.
It says the deluxe edition, yeah.
Yeah, it would have the map.
Yes.
And the steelbook.
Interesting. Let's see here. Product details. It has nudity. That's not what I want to know. Doesn't say what's in it.
Like, thanks, Target.
Yes. Okay. Yes, the game has nudity. Got it. Whatever.
Hey, that's a new thing for for
nudity.
Yeah, Final being rated with having nudity in it. But the previews looked pretty cool. The scale is insane. It's very different than previous Final Fantasies, and that's okay. Like, I am definitely a person of like, yep, this is a series that reinvents itself as it needs to and should. Like, you don't get to 16 mainline games without some level of reinvention.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
And that's mainline, and then we go to all the side stuff that they've done. Yeah, there's a huge amount.
Well, Square Enix, I just feel like, Jesus Christ, they're putting out a ton of games. Like, you're playing one.
Yeah.
Diofeld Chronicles came out recently. I thought it came out this year. Forspoken. Maybe Diofeld was last year, but at the end of the year.
Last year. Harvestella was last year.
Right.
Tactics Ogre Reborn.
Yep.
Was there other stuff within the year? Dragon Quest Treasures.
Oh.
Is that out? No, that came out December 9th. It's another Dragon Quest kind of spin-off game. Like, they're definitely not slowing on their game releases there at all.
No.
Theatrhythm.
Oh shit, that's right. Yeah, god damn.
Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion.
Yep.
The remake.
Well, and supposedly Final Fantasy VII coming out later this year.
Yeah. Valkyria Elysium was recently.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just looking through stuff on their website of like recent games, and it's in the past year they've probably put out close to a dozen games of all different sizes and budgets.
Right, and that's kind of what I like is that they're still like quote unquote like JRPG or whatever. Like they're putting out the pixel or 2D, 3D, more smaller budget. Again, I just keep thinking about Diefeld Chronicles, which was a smaller thing. That seemed to be well received.
Yeah, I don't think it was like amazingly well received or anything, but I didn't see it get like super panned or anything.
Right, it wasn't panned like Forspoken, which I don't think Forspoken would have been panned so much if it wasn't such a huge marketing budget. Like it was made to be like the next coming of Christ, and it was not. Although I think it's just because I like looking at car wrecks, I guess. I don't know. Like I'm interested in playing that later this year just to see for myself because there's probably some fun to be had in that game. But I have so many things that I am playing and want to play that I probably won't do that.
Yeah. Diofield Chronicle has an open critic of 71.
Oh, okay. That's lower than I thought. That's not bad. That's a 7.
Just sitting there. I mean, some places definitely didn't like it. Seems like it was a little bit divisive there.
Oh yeah.
GameSpot gave it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
But then other people were giving it 7s and 8s out of 10. So I don't know.
Does this?
They're just saying like, hey, it's generic. It has a generic story.
Yeah.
And some awkward controls.
The deluxe edition that you're getting, is it disc or is it digital?
Disc.
Oh, okay, then that will not help me in the slightest. Not that I need to, anyways.
Where am I getting it through? I think I'm getting it through Best Buy.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to see. I have my pre-orders are through. No, it's through Amazon. Arriving June 26th. Deluxe edition.
What do you think about their approach to difficulty? I thought that was really interesting.
Holy crap. Yeah, we should talk about that. So
yeah, why don't you explain it?
The game doesn't have difficulty. You have two options when you start. You can be story focused or action focused is your choice. If you do story focused, it changes nothing about the mobs in the game, enemies, anything like that. Like nothing has changed mechanically, but you are given, I think it was like 5 equipable accessories in the game, rings. Yep. I get one of the interviews talked about all of them, but effectively you can equip these rings, and I think you have you have 6 accessory slots total.
Yep.
So if you want to just put all these rings on, you can.
I heard you could only put 2 of the difficulty rings on.
Really?
That was in the skill up.
Okay, I'd have to check again. But
so I could be wrong, but yeah.
Either way, like you put these rings on, and they change kind of how much you have to care about certain aspects of the game. So there's one ring you can put on that makes it so you don't have to attack combo anymore. You can just button mash your attack, and the game will automatically do all the necessary combos for you. Switching, it looks like switching icons and the whole thing, so that you are just doing great combos. You can button mash.
Yep.
All to your heart's content and still look cool doing it.
That seems like the tailor-made for me.
Yeah. There's one that will auto heal you. Will auto potion, basically. So you don't have to worry about using your potions. If your health gets low, it will use your potions for you. It doesn't sound like it gives you extra potions.
No, it just
takes it away from you. So you don't have to take your hand off the controls. It will just do it for you. One that gives you better dodge windows.
Yep.
So longer dodge windows. And I think there's one that was even more than that, with just auto dodge things for you.
Yes.
I think that's the whole thing. Like those can't be equipped at the same time. Like there's one that makes it easier for you to dodge, and the one that just does the dodging itself. It sounds kind of great, because even for people coming into an action game, like let's say this is very actiony and this is not the type of game that you play, you can put these on, and as you get better, you can take them off. Like on the fly, and just be like, okay, I don't need this anymore. Or if you're in a really hard boss fight or an area of the game, and you're like, man, I just want through this. I'm tired of doing this. Equip one of these rings, equip 2 of them, and ideally that just gives you the little bit of a boost to get through it. But you still have to play the game.
It reminds me in some way, and this is not a 1-to-1, of course, but Hollow Knight, where you put on the different badges.
Yep.
And the badges just buffed you in some way, or you could put badges on to fuck you. I think it's real. If it is only 2, because I remember Skillup saying it was 2 of the 6 you could have the difficulty rings, and the other 4 had to be your other accessories or whatever. But I could be wrong. But it's so cool how you can mix and match it, and then like it doesn't, for me, I think of it, at least right now from hearing about it, like offloading some of the annoying management piece.
Yeah.
Just make the game funner. I don't know if it makes it less difficult or more, but I think that's really cool. That's a different approach, and it's nice that they're being thoughtful about it.
Yeah. And it's definitely a way then it gets to the way of like everyone's experiencing the same game.
Yep.
So that's a nice touch. Like, yeah. And it's easier than, honestly, from the start. Like when a game just presents you, do you want to play this on easy, normal, or hard? To say those 3. It's hard to know. You're like, what does that mean? What does it do? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them, they don't tell you. You just have to make a guess. I would just usually go with normal, because I'm like, I guess that's what's intended. But it's always been one of those things that whenever that's initially popped up to a player and they don't understand the game that they're playing, they could be it's very confusing.
Right.
And this is a great way to get around that. You're like, all right, here you go. Here's the things you need, that you can tune this however you want. Yeah. Because it does sound, even from the interviews, they're very cognizant of people non-action game players picking this game up.
Right. Like the people, it's not even non-action gamers like picking up Final Fantasy 16. It's like non-action gamers who are Final Fantasy people picking up this game and be like, wait, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
You don't want to piss off, not necessarily piss off, but like turn off your long-term fans who always come to Final Fantasy for a certain experience.
Yep. And it sounds like they're going to get a 35-hour experience overall. And I looked at that and I was like, what's Final Fantasy 15's overall length? 29 hours.
God, I played that game for 45 hours.
Yeah, there's a wide range on how long to beat on Final Fantasy 15. I think it was, what was it? Yeah, like main plus extra is closer to 53 hours, and if you're a completionist, 94 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But main story, 28 hours. And I think Final Fantasy 16, when they're saying like 35 hours of story and stuff, I think that's like the main story. I have a feeling it's a Final Fantasy game. There's usually a fair amount of extras, so you could probably double that time.
Oh,
minimum.
Yeah, someone had said, I thought it was Skillip who said they had said something like, do all the side shit, whatever, it's like 70.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
But, and forgive me if you just mentioned this, but, again, I think it was Skillip who said, like, the cutscenes altogether, they said, are like 11 hours.
Yeah.
So when you say, or when they say, the game is 35 hours, does that include the 11 hours of cutscenes?
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
Potentially. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how they clock all that in there. Like, I also don't, like, on how long to beat the 28 hours for Final Fantasy 15 main story. Is that including not skipping cutscenes at all? Like, if you just sat and watched through all the cutscenes?
Yeah, I wonder too.
So I don't know, because I was looking, I was like, is that short or not? So it looks like 16 though in general is going to be a longer game than 15. But I mean, shorter than, like, what was 13? 13 was almost 50 hours main story.
Yeah. Okay.
And like 12 was 61 hours. I won't even bring in Final Fantasy 14 because that's like 250 hours.
Yes, dude,
just to play the main story.
Holy shit. I looked at that and I was like, oh my God.
It's a lot of story.
I'm looking forward to getting to it.
It's so amazing.
Yes. Already at the beginning, and this is a little bit of, maybe we can transition to what we're playing, I guess. I picked up Final Fantasy XIV after watching basically Skillip's video of 16. And just the team, all the hype around 14 folks doing the story. I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just check it out so I have something to compare it to. And it was on sale, or whatever. It was $20 base thing. But then I picked up Endwalker 2 because it was $20. So like, all right, I had the whole fucking package, whatever. And if it's a fucking lot, especially on console. Like, I don't know if console was the right idea to play this fucking game.
I know people that play it exclusively on console.
Okay, well, Jesus Christ, good for them. It's a lot, and I'm still trying to figure out how to like turn. Last night I figured out how to turn the UI off, which is really nice. But there's gotta be some way to fuck with the options so I can leave some things that I want to see and the rest I can turn off. But anyway.
Oh yeah. There's all sorts of HUD layout stuff you can do built in.
That's what I'm hoping for. So the way that there's just you're bombarded with quests, and you had talked to me later about like, here's how you can process which ones are important, which ones you can leave behind. But even when I just picked them all up and talked to people, like, it was building the world so quickly and so I think kind of well, coming into that game where this is a living, breathing place, and I'm stepping into the middle of it, which is exactly what it feels like as a gamer. Like, I'm coming into this game and it's filled with people who are already here doing things. So it did a good job of making the world appear like that. So if that's only for like an hour, right, hour and a half.
Yeah.
After 213 hours, that's got to be like the best fucking story on the planet. Because
it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
To put it that way, they don't drop the ball really. Like, that's the thing with it, and that's why it's incredibly good writing.
Yeah.
Is they started this story 10 years ago, and the thing was, they didn't have it planned out for 10 years. They just did the due diligence whenever they're continuing the story and writing through, to remember what they did, replay what they wrote, reread what they wrote, and figure out how to make it all fit together.
Right.
Like, and it shows, because I'm like, nah, they couldn't have known what the end was going to be when they started this, and the things that they reference. They just, as a writer and a writing team, took the time necessary to craft a good story and make that journey, make it pay off in the end. which we watch. A lot of people don't do that. Because a lot of things don't have their ends ready when you start.
Yeah.
But my God, do they close up most threads, and small things that you think are like, oh yeah, whatever, come back in big ways, and you're like, that's cool, that's a great reference. But I will say the first A Realm Reborn part of it is the slowest.
I can see that.
and it's the most, I would say, the more MMO-y of it, but
Yep.
the thing is with it, people will say, oh yeah, you can just skip. Some people will just skip it because they'll just buy the skip to get to Heavensward.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be so confused.
Oh,
like
yeah,
there is this build, like it's slow because it builds and it has another, like I think that's maybe 50 hours to get through through A Realm Reborn, maybe a little bit less. But that chunk of story is like the foundation for the next 200 hours.
Yeah, I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice, right?
You need it.
Yeah.
For the story to kind of make sense, to see where they're going, to see the characters come together. Like, yeah, when I think of like some of my favorite stories in games, it is probably it's up there. It's definitely my favorite Final Fantasy story at this point.
Wow, and you played 12 a lot.
Yeah, I don't think 12 has the best story. I think the 12 has really cool lore, and has some really great characters, but its story's kind of mangled in its presentation.
Yeah.
This one, you just get the Final Fantasy XIV. Its story is so great because they have the time to tell it. It takes 231 hours, but you know all the characters deeply, and you care about your companions in this story. It's just not short. Like, that's the thing. It's like whenever you have just a giant, long, good TV show.
Well, I was going to compare it to like fucking 1,000-page doorstopper fantasy novels when you read 10 in a series. Like, you know those characters so well, you fucking care.
Yeah. And they get there.
Yeah.
And they get there and they pay it off. That's all I can say to it is like, and they pay it off more than once.
Right.
It's just a lot to commit to. I'm glad that I did myself, like that I took the time and just did it. Took 3 tries, but I finally got to it. I kept bailing in A Realm Reborn.
You played it from the beginning and were like, no.
Yeah.
Or you came to it later?
Once A Realm Reborn came out, I tried it. And I was like, that's fine. I got to like level 20 or 30. I got to 30, like where you start with a class, then at 30 you get your job. You transition into the next step, the jobs and everything. And I got there and I was like, okay, this is a lot of MMO. And I was after I had a kid and everything. So
yeah, of course.
It was hard for me to figure it out. And I was like, it was interesting. And then I tried again and Heavensward came out because everyone was loving Heavensward. And I was like, oh, that'd be cool. But I bounced pretty quickly. And then I tried it again. It was when Shadowbringers had come out. People were raving about it, and they redid A Realm Reborn, basically. They dropped about a third of the required quests in A Realm Reborn from the MSQ and rewrote it slightly. And just basically sped up A Realm Reborn in general and made the story a bit more concise. And I got there at that point.
Right.
I was like, okay. They tried to make it easier for people to get to.
It's like it is a fucking fire hose. It is so visually so much that I will be able to parse, but it just feels so very much MMO-ish, which is what it is. Which is what it is, and that's fine. I'm not critiquing it, but I was like, I forgot I haven't played WoW since 2010. This feels like that right now. Like, whoa. But I'm very excited to have something to reference when I play 16. I'm not going to obviously get very far in this, but I do want to have at least a couple hours under my belt.
Sure.
So,
and as was stated, the producers of 16 and 14 are both named Yoshida. So there's probably could be a crossover, maybe. Yoshida being very playful with the fact that he is the producer of both the games.
I was so confused when you said that. I was like, I think it's the same person, but Japanese names are common. It could be wrong. I could be wrong.
No, he's just making fun of the fact that. Well, I think he's just being funny because someone did ask. He's like, hey, is there going to be a Final Fantasy 14/16 crossover going on in Final Fantasy 14? And you should be a safe bet that there totally will be one.
Yeah, why not? You know?
And yeah, considering he's the producer on both of them, he's probably like, yes, please. Like, 14 should do something when 16 comes out, or shortly after. They did 15. I have Noctis's car in Final Fantasy 14 as a mount.
Noctis?
No, the car from 15
is actually a mount in Final Fantasy 14?
It was a special event mount. They run the event every once in a while, and the thing is you can ride in it, and it can seat up to 3 other people with you.
Dude.
And so you can fly, and it's a flying mount. It flies around.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
You can fly around in the car.
Oh my god, that's really cool.
It's ridiculous. Oh, silly game. But yeah, good luck with that. At least you're on my server.
I'm on your server. Yep. I was able to, because I had sent a Discord message that I'm gonna do something stupid and try this, and then I was like, I remembered the name that you had said because it's memorable, but I was like, it has a bunch of A's in it. It's like adamantium or something to do with Wolverine. That's how I remembered it. But then I had clicked into the, I don't know what it's called, like the fucking section that had your server plus a bunch of other ones.
The zones, basically.
Yeah, but I did not click the server yet. So then I was able to do that. And it was one of the ones that was available, which was nice because there were several that were not. So.
Yeah. Well, that's good because Adamantoids, which is the one I'm on, is very it's an old server. It's popular.
Okay.
It had some pretty big queues during the Endwalker time, but it's also a very popular server, so you get the benefit of very active auction houses and stuff like that. I should get your character at some point. I could give you permission to go to my house.
Oh, cool.
Not that there's really much anything there, but it exists.
Is it in the city that I'm in?
No,
or you have no idea, I guess.
It's in a different city.
Okay.
Limsa Lominsa, which is in one of the other starting cities. I think you're starting in the desert one.
I'm in the desert, yeah.
Yeah.
So I played last night, and I was like, okay, this is not good, because I was on the couch, and you know how far my couch is from the TV. I was like, I can't read this shit.
Yeah.
Like, I need to be way closer. So I was trying to read the mini-map from the couch, and I was like, I have no idea where I'm going. So I just roamed and had some fun.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Anything else you've been playing?
Fire Emblem Emblem Engage. Just really quickly, I have gotten Byleth. I did his paralog. I just got Corrin.
Okay.
And I'm about to do her paralog, so I'm through like 19. I just got the Dancer too, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Sedal.
Oh, that's the same one. That's the same one. Corrin and the Dancer at the same time. Sedal.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I went and did a training mission after that, and just auto battled, and 4 people walked out of that. Like, God damn it! Like, why are these so hard? And if I did it myself, I would have not lost that many people, obviously. But I probably would have lost quite a few. And it's just like, fuck. Trying to like level up some of my under people, and it's like this is not working. We've talked about this before.
Yep.
So enjoying that. My daughter and I and my wife played a little bit today with us too. We beat Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Played the whole campaign, finished the last part of the campaign today, and then moved on to the new piece, which is like the Magalore. After you beat the game, the villain of the game becomes the main character, and you can play like a new thing where Magalore is the main character. And that was fun. So we had a lot of fun playing Kirby. It was both the funnest experience I've had playing with my daughter and the most frustrating. like just there was one point, I think I said it before, where I was stern with her about something. She's like, I something like, hurry up, you're gonna get smashed, and then she stopped moving. She's like, I would have gone if you didn't yell at me. I was like, I'm trying not to yell at you, But man, like, this one was so hard to like not backseat because like there's a lava stage at the very end, and instead of floating over the lava because you're fucking Kirby, she jumped into every single lava pit. And I was just like, okay, I gotta speak up. What are you doing? So I want to walk in the lava. Well, that's great, but you can't walk in the lava. You're losing health.
Keep trying it. It'll work.
Yes, exactly. And then today, the way that it works, no matter how many players you have, if the first player dies, you start over. And that was my daughter. She wanted to play first player. And finally today I was like, I need to play first player. You and mom can play second and third player because when you die, we don't restart. And we went in today with like a stockpile of like 50 extra lives. And by the time we were done, we had one. It was, oh boy, like the resource management that you play in some of these games where you're like stockpiling lives, stockpiling whatever else, is hard when your daughter's in charge and she's 5.
Yeah.
So that was it. And then, that's what I've been playing, except for today, I loaded up Wulong Fallen Dynasty and played a half an hour of that.
Of the demo?
Yeah. No. The game. It's on game.
It's
on game.
No,
it's on Game
Pass.
Pass. Yeah.
Right.
No, it's not my kind of game to buy. But it's on Game Pass, and I was listening to a bunch of reviews on it this week, and I was like, well, I have Game Pass. I want to start playing just 30 minutes of various games, continuing the backlog thing that I've been doing. This is not a backlog game, but I enjoyed. Nope, that's the wrong word. It was interesting. The thing that I heard on the podcast that I found to be true as well is that it looks pretty bad. It plays pretty well in terms of like the moment-to-moment combat, but the first area, it's pretty straightforward. You're running through mobs and just different, small enemies, and then you get to the boss of the area, and it's like a difficulty spike that's you're unprepared for. And I had listened to the podcast and learned of like what they had done, why it was difficult, because it really wants you to like parry his special moves, and if you're just going straight attacks, like you can't beat him. And it was very interesting to see how much of a spike it was. But there's like, there's bonfires. You can spend your chi points to upgrade your stats, and it's like, this is like Elden Ring.
Yeah.
So much of this is like Elden Ring, or FromSoft games. So played half an hour, instantly uninstalled it. I had the experience, and it's that kind of game, and it's not the kind of game that I want to play. So
Exactly.
So that's other than that, I have been playing buy as many 3DS and Wii U games as I can that I want to have before the stores shut down. And I realized tonight that for some reason my Switch account is attached to my 3DS account, so I can buy stuff. I bought a bunch of Awakening DLC, and I bought Harmonite, and I bought Link Between Worlds. But I can't buy anything on the Wii U. So I guess I'm screwed on that front. But I have been loading up my 3DS. And that's it. How about you?
All right. For me, I mean, I mentioned at the beginning, I've been playing a lot of Octopath Traveller too. I'm 40 hours in at this point.
Oh, wow.
I'm over there's each of the 8 characters has 4 chapters. I'm doing chapter 3s of each of them now, wherever I'm at. Their stories are really good. Gameplay is similar to the first game. Like combat, they don't really change that at all. That's the combat. But the actual like characters and stories, far better than the first game. It's much more voice acting all the time.
Awesome.
on most things. And I feel like the stories just get better as you go. They're kind of like at the beginning, you're like, oh, this is kind of stereotypical for a lot of them. And no, they switch it up as it goes. And there's been some really dark shit in this game. Like, holy crap, some of these stories are real dark. In a number of ways. And you're just like, wow, we're really going there in this like somewhat cutesy looking game.
Wow. Yeah.
And yeah, but it's really, I'm finding a blast, and especially if you like that old school Japanese style RPG, I would say the older Final Fantasies or anything, this is a love letter to those games. A lot more like mixed with the Saga games from Square.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
because that's kind of the Saga games had many characters with their own stories, and so it's kind of presented that way. Let's see. I've got to the point where I have the ability to multi-class my characters, so they always are their primary class, which they start as, but then you can unlock licenses of those jobs to let another character use that job as well. So you can start mixing and matching. And there's the 8 primary jobs that you can mix and match to other characters, and then there's 4 advanced jobs, which I found one of them, and then they're all in the world. They're hidden in the world. You have to do specific things, and I found one, the inventor, which you can equip as a secondary job to one character, each of those 4. Yeah, there's just a lot, and the game just lets you kind of roam and do things at your own pace. It tells you like, hey, chapter 2 with this character is at this city and it's roughly this level, so go do it when you want to do it. If you don't want to do it right now, go someplace else. Search the world, explore, find things. Yeah, I'm having a really good time with it, and more than I did the first game, I think, especially considering a lot of the first game I don't remember all that much. So this is at least memorable.
I feel like a lot of people are saying that it's like the first game but better.
Yeah,
which is really
totally
good to hear.
Is.
Yeah.
Which is really, when we talked about like reviews for it and stuff, which was the one that was like IGN gave it a 7 out of 10 because they're like, it's not different enough. I'm like, no, this is just, you gave the first one 9. This is the 9. Like, this should be a 9. The first one should not have been a 9. Sorry, dude. Like,
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. I listened to his.
This is the 9. This is the better game. Like, hands down.
And having heard someone else on a different podcast talking about that, and then I went and listened to the NVC podcast where he was talking about it, and his justification was so dumb. I was like, oh, you don't really have anything to back this up. I thought that I thought there'd be something different besides. It's the same, but it's just not new. Like, and. God.
Yeah, it's the same but better. That's the thing with it. I would say that it is improved on all fronts. Like, it doesn't have to be a revolutionary new game. Like, it's the second game in what may be a series now. Who knows? Who knows if there'll be a third one? But they just took the foundation and made it better, and everything. They responded to people's feedback from the first game. Like,
right,
more interesting stories, voice acting, intertwined stories.
Yep.
They added that stuff and fixed that, and they didn't change the stuff people liked.
Yeah, like, right. They fix the bad stuff and then they get rid of the good stuff.
Yeah, like, they didn't change the combat system because, like, people generally gave high praise to the combat system, yep, being very tactical. And like, cool, don't change that. Don't change the art style. Like,
no, definitely not. That art style is amazing.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I'm looking forward to getting through. Probably by next time we talk, I'll ideally at least be through kind of the last chapters of the main stories, and then see where that leads to a final boss potentially, and how that ties together.
Yeah, because I feel like you said you put 40 hours in. I thought you had just started it last weekend. Is that not right? You had it longer than that?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out. You finished.
Maybe my time. I guess I have left it idle a little bit here and there, but I think people have said it's supposed to be around a 60 to 80 hour game.
Yeah.
Overall.
You guys are just trying to think, like, are you gonna be done by next weekend? Because you've been.
I don't think I'll be done.
Yeah.
I think I'll be through chapter, because I know that there's all the 8 characters. They have their 4 chapters, and then there's a chunk of story after those.
Oh, got it.
All. Which all their stories kind of tie together to get to that final piece. I know that happens. So I think I'll be at least through some of the chapter 4s, if not all of them, by next weekend. Like, each chapter isn't terribly long. It's like a half an hour or so, 45 minutes when you get to it, but you need to get to those different cities and places. And there's things to do along the way. So I think I'll be doing fine there, but we'll see where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing how that goes, because if the ending ties things together fairly well, that's really the only thing that kept me away from engaging or thinking about engaging with the first one is that they didn't connect. And now, I don't know, maybe I don't care as much anymore because playing Live Alive,
Yeah, it's a lot like that, actually.
Yeah.
Probably similar to that. I think this is Octopath Traveler originally was referenced like when Live Alive was coming out, people were like, oh yeah, Octopath Traveler is kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like, took the same kind of approach. But we'll see. I just think the stories are better in 2.
That's
overall.
great.
The characters are just better.
Yeah.
They're more interesting.
That's good. Anything else you want to play?
Have I played anything else? I played Sea of Thieves with my son, which maybe I talked about last week.
You said you were going to. You hadn't played it yet.
We did. We played. That was fine. It's Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun to play with my son.
Yeah, that's cool.
That way.
Yeah.
And he knows more about it than me, so he gets to tell me about what I need to do. And now that he has his computer in the same room that I'm at, we can just talk back and forth to each other while playing. It's fun.
Don't need to get onto Discord or anything like that.
Yeah. We'll probably play more of that next weekend. But no, I've really just been trying to focus on Octopath when playing games right now.
Yeah, I feel like when I load up my Switch, for the most part, you're on there playing. I see you on there.
Yep.
Loading up Fire Emblem or Kirby or whatever.
Yep.
So it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that's it.
Yeah, we did it. We nailed it. All right. Well, this has been Prof and Dev Play Games, episode 375. If you like us, please rate us on your podcast service of choice. We'll be back next week to talk more. There's a Capcom thing coming up.
Oh, there is, isn't there? I saw that get announced. We'll see what they say.
So we'll see if there's anything worth talking about.
Yeah.
And then we'll see if there's any more 12:03 a.m. tweets about really good DLC coming out.
There you go. Yeah.
For other games. Which, just real quick, that's not coming out in this year, is it?
No.
Can't, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Again, that's just you're just talking about the Elden Ring DLC, which is, it's just appeasing people because they're like, why wasn't it at the state of play? And they're like, fine, we're working on it. Now just let us be.
Leave us alone.
Well, yeah. At earliest is this fall.
Yeah.
Absolute earliest is this fall, winter of this year, holiday season this year. But even then, probably not.
Even then, that's like way too early. It seems to me, at least.
Maybe we'll hear something around the June, like, summer of games timeframe would be my
right, hearing more about it. Yeah,
like a first trailer. But and yeah, it could be this year. Who knows? I don't know how long it's going to take them to make stuff for that game.
Yeah.
So I have to remember how to play. That's how it works with all the goddamn FromSoft games.
It's kind of what's intimidating me about going back to playing this game that I've played for 80 hours. I don't know if I know how to play it. and stepping back into like the back half of the game, like, I really need to be on my game in the back half of the game. So.
Yeah. We'll see. Might just need to start a new character whenever for whatever the DLC is going to be. I'm curious. But
I wonder if that's possible. Like, if you just.
I know. I think you just need to replay the game at that point, and that might be the way you have to approach it.
Yeah.
And be like, I can't just drop myself back into this game. I have to start fresh again.
Yep.
Choose a different build and just learn. But I don't know what the DLC is going to be. Honestly, I have no idea. So.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what they end up doing.
Sounds good. Well, when we find out, we'll talk about it on this podcast. And we'll see you next week, folks. Thanks for joining us.
Later, everyone.